Okay guys, this is what we're gonna do on this video. Usually we talk on health and a lot of different subjects, but today it's bass fishing, and we're in Lake Sherwood, California, and this is in Southern California, about 60 miles north of Los Angeles. And this is a private lake, so you do have to be privileged to fish on this lake. And I've been fishing on this lake probably since I was like 7 years old. So I'm going to show you just a few things, because a lot of people ask me all the time, because when I come to California to visit my children, and she's taking pictures right now, doing our little video. So everyone asks me, says, how do you catch those things? So I just want to show you, bass fishing is not just fishing with a bobber. It's actually like a pretty good art. You can see tools. This is called a bait caster reel, and then I have other reels like these ones right here. These are spinning reels, but if you're pretty good at fishing, you'll always want to use this type of reel. But real quick here, I'm just going to show you a couple things, just because, like I said, a lot of people ask questions on just where you fish, just what do you do when you fish. So first thing, because a lot of people, just to show you, and we're going to even throw a couple casts here just to show you the art of casting. If you can cast, you can catch bass, because you need to be able to cast good. So I'm going to retie this weight and a hook, and in this lake, we only do catch and release, so we don't eat any of the fish, and everybody just catches them and lets them back out. So this is what we're going to use. We're going to use a hook that's got a bend in it, because I'm going to put it in this weird looking piece of plastic right here. It's supposed to go ahead and be like a water dog or some type of lizard or something, okay? But we're going to make this so it's weedless, just real quick. And tying knots, of course, is when you go fishing, you gotta learn all the knots. Okay, so we're going to put a weight on first. This is the little bullet weight. Just real quick. Put this guy in a hole. And then we want to tie a knot. And the knot I'm going to tie, it's called an improved clinch knot, just a real easy knot. You just fold the line like this, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I hold on to this line here, and it's all twisted. Okay, and then I'm just going to put this through this side here. Oops, got too much line there. Put it through this side, and then pull it through the big hole, and put a little spit on there so it slides. And this is a really good knot, so you got to learn that. Just cut off about 1/8 of an inch to the end. There's your finished product. And then we're going to show you how to hook up this plastic artificial. Okay, so what I do is I put it through the head like this, and to put this hook in, because remember, it's a crooked hook. So the way I'm going to do this, actually this is an old worm here, so let's do this guy. I ran out of worms, so we're using a used one here. And you can probably catch about 30 bass, if you're careful with the worms on one little lure. So once I've pulled that through like that, okay, you can see I'm going to embed the hook. And, all right, just real quick here. So I embed the hook through there, and once I pull it all the way through, then I pinch it back, so now it's weedless. Okay, so when I throw this, I can hit the weeds and everything and pull it, and in order for the fish to be able to grab it, he grabs this, and I got about 2 seconds, and I pull real hard. And one last thing real quick here, okay, just to show you, we let all the fish go, and a lot of people fish, but you're not doing one thing that's needed. And we're going to take this little barb off right here, because if the fish you catch swallows the hook, okay, you'll never get that hook out. So what I do is I bend the barb, and this is really good for people, no matter even if you're just fishing regular, because these hooks will not go ahead and break down. And I just feel the back, make sure there's not a barb, and that's what's called a barbless hook. Okay, now we're ready. And every time I come to California, I probably fish sometimes twice a day sometimes, because to me, coming out on the lake here, and since I grew up here, is so nice. We're on a 16-foot pontoon boat. This is an electric motor, and it's run by a 10 horsepower motor in the back. And we're going to fish against these are called tules, and since it's late right now, it's probably about 10 o'clock. You can see there's shade right here because the bass are going to hide still in the shade a little bit, but once it gets sunny, like on the other side, all the bass go way in the back of the tules and you're not going to catch any. So we want to get a certain distance away, so let's go over here just because we sort of messed up this area here. And what I'm going to do, it's a little windy. It's always nice to fish where there's no wind at all. So when I cast this, again, this is an art. If you don't keep your thumb on the spool, then what do you think happens? This thing turns into a big fur ball, and you're not going to use this type of rod. You're going to try first fishing with the spinning rod. Spinning rods are good for beginners. Like I said, these are way more advanced. So we're just going to come up to this little area here. And this is one of the inlets in Lake Sherwood. Lake Sherwood's not the biggest lake, but it's pretty darn big if you have an electric motor and a small little engine. It takes you a while to go from one side of the lake to the other. And you can see there's a lot of nice houses on this lake. And even on a Saturday, there's only a few boats that are using the lake. So what I'm going to do, I click the reel. Let's get further back. Getting blown around with the wind here. Oh, there goes a fish right there. Did you see him just jump in the corner where the white splashes? So that's where the fish is. He's right there. So I'm going to cast over, and I want to make sure I go right where he was. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this simulate being something alive. So I twitch it, and I can feel any fish. If it just touches it, I can feel it all the way through the line. Okay, so I keep my fingers on the line right here, so I can feel if anything goes ahead and just taps it. And if it does tap it, then I take all the slack out. I count like maybe to 2 seconds, and I pull back because I don't want them to swallow, because remember, the fish, I want to hook them in the face. And if you're sport fishing, if you hook the fish right in the side of the lip, you get like 3 times of a fight versus if you belly hook them. And then usually if you belly hook them, it's because you're not fishing correctly. 2 seconds, that's all you got. And you can see right where I cast, perfectly like a foot. So if I cast 10 feet out, the fish aren't there. They're right next to the edge where the tules are. And all I'm going to do is just let it, it's got a little weight on the front, and it's going to slowly drop down, and I twitch it a few times just to give it a little action. And the bass, these are super aggressive animals, fish, and anything they see, they'll go ahead and grab. So usually if I don't catch anything like 10 feet, and you can see where I cast exactly every time 1 foot to the bank, so you have to be really good at casting. I'm not sure if we're going to catch anything, but I'll show in the videos a lot of the fish that we catch. They just went ahead and did something to the lake here too. They probably, it's called bluestone, and bluestone's where they take a lot of the algae or the weeds out of the lake using some type of process, some chemical, something. But every time they do that, sometimes the lake is really slow for maybe a month or 2 or 3. Makes the water really clear, and so my plastic lure sometimes is not as effective. It's best fishing in the morning, in the evening, like I said, in the morning for 2-3 hours. And if you get a full moon, it's really good to go night fishing, because you can catch fish anytime with a full moon. But I just wanted to show you, I'm not going to sure if we're going to catch any fish right now, but fishing is an art. It's not just fishing, sitting there with a bobber. Remember, I'm casting this little guy right here that's supposed to simulate something alive, and I'm going to make it look alive. I'm just throw it out there and let it hit the water. So go ahead and point that way, just so you can, I'm going to show you where I'm going to cast. I'm going to cast, and I'm going to try to get as close as I can to where I'm supposed to be with the fish. Like I said, this is, you know, an art. You have to pick the right type of rod. My rod's 7 feet long, because if I had a short rod, I can't go ahead and cast well. And I have, like I said, it's a bait caster reel. And if you're going to buy one of these, you have to buy a pretty good one. This one's like $150, because the cheap ones, again, they're not good, not easy to use. But you can see where I casted that, and I'm casting it like as close as I can get to the bank without getting stuck on the bank. And these are all like prime areas. I usually catch like 6, 7, 8 fish just in this little area right here. But like I said, lately, fishing's been slow. But any fish I do catch is a nice fish. And they fight super good right now. So the water's not that warm, but then again, not that cold either. When it's cold, it's really hard to catch fish. So when the water heats up, let's try just a couple more and then we'll just end this. But I want to show you. So I just whip this around and I use my thumb and I'll cut it off exactly. So I was about 6 inches from the edge right there. And then once it lands, give it a couple of twitches. And when the fish hits the line, it just really pulls it hard. So you can feel it. Again, I'm holding the line. I'm not blind. Remember, I'm feeling every little movement. I can feel the ground when it hits. And when it hits the ground, that means that's fine, okay? So I can jig it a couple of times. And if there's a fish there, he'll eat it. So they're hunting. And of course, I'm hunting for them. Okay, one last one. And you can see I got to whip that pretty far. Going into the wind is way harder to cast, so you cast with the wind, because if you go into the wind, you got to be really good, because you got to whip it way harder, and then you have to, at the very end, you have to put your thumb on the spool. If not, this thing turns in what's called a bird's nest, and you won't be fishing for a while. Okay, anyways, just wanted to show you guys what I do when I do come out in the lake. If we catch one, maybe I'll try to go ahead and give it a, and this is what happens when you you don't do it right. You get a little bird's nest, and pulling it out, you have to pull every little piece of line out, because if not, you can't reel on top of the line that's not. And it's a good idea too, if you're learning how to cast, always put water on your line, because it makes it so all the line comes off really easy. And when I put the line back on, you know, this is a common mistake. Again, I have to hold the line to make sure it goes on with tension, because if not, it'll get a little loop in there again. Okay, we're out of the fishing range. Okay, one more cast here. This is what I say every day. Dad drops me off over at the lake, and I've been there all day, and I just tell him, hey, Dad, one more cast, because it's always that next cast where you catch, and you can see where I casted that, like 2 feet from the bank. And if you can't get to that spot, you're not going to catch anything. Okay, the bass aren't out here, and sometimes they are when they're chasing fish, but not right now. There's no fish out here. But if you do see fish jumping, you just throw your line to where the fish is, and usually, like half the time, you'll go ahead and catch a fish. All right, anyways, one more cast. I wanted to catch one for you guys, because usually we can catch really good. And you can see, again, pro casting, not saying I've casted thousands and thousands of times to be able to really be efficient at using that little, you know, weight that you have on there. You got to practice at home before you go fishing if you want to do this type of fishing. But once you get good at casting, this is like going shooting. I go to shooting, right, and you hit a target. So right now I'm like shooting. I take my rod and I put exactly where I want to go ahead and put the bait. And so that's sort of a fun thing too. It's not just fishing, it's casting. So let's say if I want to go way over there, and I'm exactly in the spot where I wanted to be. And that's, you know, 70, 80 feet away. So casting is everything when you fish. And technique is a lot too, but if there's fish, like in this lake, and this lake here is probably one of the best lakes just because it's all catch and release. No one's taking the fish. All right, looks like everybody's got a lockjaw. That's it. All right, so if I do catch something, I'll see if I can film it, but whew, sun's hot, and some of my other gears, you have to wear a hat when you're out here, and you have to wear polarized glasses. If not, I can't see the fish. I want to be able to see in the water, and the hat, you know, like you see the Indian guys looking out in the desert, right? They're doing this for a reason, because this really does help for fishing, for sure. Okay, that's it. We'll show you some good pictures of fish I caught, and I'll see you in the next video. Aloha. Okay, guys, it's a beautiful morning, early morning here, Saturday. It's my daughter's birthday today. Derek, happy birthday. And you can see the lake is super glass, but let's just go over what I'm going to use maybe today to go ahead and catch some bass. And you can see, wow, that's what you call glass. And there's one other person on the whole lake right now. That's it. There's one guy fishing over there. So let's go over just a little bit of the tackle. Get in the sun here. So you can see that you can use a variety of different types of called artificial baits and worms. And so all these are worms, and you would set them up with hook and a weight. And you can see just real quick, these are all different things you can use to catch bass. So got a lot of little crayfish types, and so all different types of artificial lures. And those are your plastic baits. And then you can use different types of baits. Get over in the sun here, and you can see different types of plugs and lures that simulate what they may eat. Frogs. Okay, look at these guys. And these actually work pretty good. You just cast them on top, and these are jigs, and so, and you can see some of the lures are really big because there's some big fish in here. And you always need to have pliers, and of course you can see all the tackle. You got fishing line in there, just different various weights. So you need a lot of different varieties of tackle. These are bobbers if you want to catch bluegill, different bullet weights, and different size hooks. So again, always use the barbless hooks. This lure works pretty good here, but the top broke off there. Okay, but it'll still work. Just throw it out there and jig it a couple of times. And you always need a good pair of needle nose pliers. Okay, so there's my brother's house right there. Really cool view. Okay, what a view to be able to have daily like this. Wow. Okay, so let's go fishing. All right. You know, fishing takes you to beautiful places in the world. It's not just that you love fishing, it's you love to go to places that fishing will take you. Like I've been to Alaska 10 times. Okay, you go to Alaska to see the place also, but let's fly in 100 miles with a float plane and go to places where nobody goes. And we're going to go fishing too and catch some of the most fantastic big huge lake trout, big king salmon, the sockeye salmon, big huge halibut. And then I used to go every year, at least twice a year, but I went on a 23-day fishing trip out of San Diego called well, it's a 23-day trip to catch huge tuna, yellowfin tuna. And I think the biggest tuna I got was, well, over 200 pounds. But we went on trips where you can catch, I think the world record was 388 pounds. That's a big tuna. And you'd catch these stand up. And what a trip. 23 days. You go out of San Diego and you go all the way down to Clipperton Island. And you go see all the different islands down there. San Benedicto, Hurricane Bank, okay, Rocco Partida, okay, these different places that nobody goes to, and you have to basically have a permit to go. So you get a chance to go snorkeling, fishing, and seeing just the habitat, whales jumping everywhere, sharks, and just acres of fish jumping everywhere. So these are exciting trips to go on. And of course, I used to professionally bass fish. That's why I really know how to do all this stuff here. So here's our lures that we showed you, and these are the rods I'm going to use right now. 4 different types of rods, and you can see I got different baits, different colors, okay, different pound tests, and there's a floating little lure right there. But here we go. Okay, let's get fishing. Okay, guys. But again, one of the best things is to be able to come out here and it's just like it is. That's why I'm talking light, because everybody can hear you really good here. Okay, because it's so quiet. It's quiet. And so serene. You can just feel light breeze. And the earlier you come out in the morning, you're just by yourself. What a way to be able to see, you can say, God's creation, something's creation. Okay, as you can purely see, water is beautiful, and everything that lives in water, of course, is creation, because without water, you got nothing. That means on the back of one of my brother's boats, Shubba, and that's a word in Maltese, because we're Maltese. Shubba means, I'm going to give you a smack. Do you want a Shubba? Poof! So anyways, all right, guys, I got my protective lenses on, polarized, because I want to see into the water. I want to see the fish. I want to be able to see in the water as best as I can. Otherwise, I don't need glasses, but out here, you do. And I got my hat too, just in case, so I can I can see better. Okay, that's it, guys. We'll see you, and I'm gonna see if we can catch a few. Okay, guys, we're gonna go ahead and do a little fishing, and I figured I'd go ahead and set up the tripod here, and this is the lure we're gonna use. You can see that's like a salamander with a chartreuse tail, and it's black with a embedded barbless hook. And we're fishing right here against the banks. And so let me turn the boat a little bit here so you can see a little better. And so I'm going to fish against the bank. There's a fish right there. And I'm going to cast as close as I can to the bank, just like that. And let's see if we can snag one. And usually when it's good here, I can catch a fish almost on every part of the shore here, every 15, 20 feet. And what you're looking for is you're looking for the real big ones, because they're really, really fun to catch, and they fight really hard. So the action that I'm using is perfect cast, if you can see that. It's like 6 inches from the bank. And then as soon as I put it into the bank, it's maybe a foot deep there, and it starts coming out deeper and deeper, and I just slowly move the worm or the bait and slowly correct the boat. Oh, there we go. See, there's a lot of little fish that'll grab it, and I have, oh, there's another one. Okay, but those aren't the fish I want. Those are like bluegill and stuff, and crappie. There's a lot of fish in this lake, and right now there's so many small fish, it's not easy to catch fish because there's too much bait in the water. But when we catch one, the line, because they're grabbing it, and then when I do get one, I pull in all the slack and make sure that he's going to go ahead and bite. I just pull back just a little bit, 2 seconds, and and I'm trying to hook him in the mouth. I don't want him to swallow the bait because it'll injure the fish. So fishing is an art, especially bass fishing. So when you see people going in bass fishing tournaments, let me tell you, these guys are skilled in a lot of different things. Just being intuitive, perfect cast again. I only say that because I am really good at casting, and that means you can be really good at fishing, because it's fun to find the spot you want to put your bait on, and that's at 80 feet away, and I can get within 6 inches just about 95% of the time, especially if there's not any wind. And hopefully we'll catch something. And I've caught a lot of big fish just right here, right off the dock. That's 100 feet from my brother's dock. You know, we used to, as a child here, we'd always have access to the lake because we always had friends that lived on the lake. So we became friends with the people that have boats on the lake, right? Because you can't have a boat on this lake right now unless you either own a boat or know somebody that has one. But we'd fill a gunny sack full of like just scraps of fish or cat food that comes in cans, and we'd fill that thing up, put some rocks in it, a gunny sack, burlap bag, and then we'd throw it out here about maybe 100 feet and let it sit there for like a week, and then we'd come back and go catfishing and catch the biggest catfish you've ever seen, 20, 30 pounders. And the catfish are either called channel catfish, and they get really big. They're real long and got a big belly, or bullheads. They're short and just super fat. but I haven't tried that in a long time. So I just casted like probably 70 feet and went right up against the bank here. Like I said, we should have already caught like 2 of them, but the lake's really super slow right now. So, and you know, just like chickens, they'll lay eggs and then they'll go through a molting phase. And a lot of these bass too, the weather front comes in, they just change their eating habits. You know, you get a storm and you usually can't catch too many fish. Well, and if you have a weedless hook like that, I cast it onto the big cement. Let's see if you can see it over there. Let's turn the boat this way a little bit. You can see better what I'm doing. There we go. That's better. Okay. Usually I always catch one through here, so we'll see. And usually when you cast, usually within 10 seconds, because you're casting in the area you want, where you know the fish are hiding or they're searching for food because they're trying to eat the smaller fish that are hiding in the weeds over here. There goes a fish right there. So a lot of times when I'm fishing, I can get a better angle over here and I'll find a spot that looks like a fish would be right under the dock where the shade is. There's another fish that just jumped. There's, like I said, there's so much bait fish in here, it's hard to, a lot of the fish are full. And when you catch them, their bellies are full. Okay. It's a little slow morning, but again, look, it's so quiet. Nothing, you don't hear anything here. Everybody's sleeping. You guys should be out here enjoying the lake. And sometimes there's a lot of people that at night they do the kayaking and paddle boarding. But a lot of people in the evening, you know, not a lot. Like last night, there was maybe 4 boats, and they come out. They anchor over there in a nice spot, and then they have dinner, have a glass of wine. Remember, it's a private lake. It's not public, so I'm not supposed to drink in a boat. But you can here. Oh. Okay, let's go to the next spot here. You can see this guy's got a fishing kayak right here. Let's see if you can see that. There you go. Those are cool, like that. But most of the houses here, they're like $4, $5, $6 million. That house right there, that house is really old. That was one of the houses I was going to buy like back in 1987. It was offered, that one right there, it was offered at $575,000. I offered him $460,000. I was like 24 years old. But that never went through. Whoop, just got bit. But it's against a lot of smaller fish. They just tap it a couple of times. And there we go. Look at that. That's like a 90-foot cast. Can't believe we're not catching anything though. So every time I come back to California here, I love, like I said, coming out on the lake because it's like a meditation too, fishing, because everything's so quiet. And I like coming by myself a lot of times. in the morning. In the evening, I like to bring with people, experience that, but the morning is serene. It's so quiet. Nobody's up. Everybody's sleeping. And I'm not catching any fish. But then again, what a beautiful thing. What a beautiful, beautiful. And so this is typical California weather. I almost went on the dock there. But since it's barbless, I just flip it right over. Okay. Probably 4 nights ago right here, I pulled like a 5-pounder right here. I fought them for like 10 minutes. And if you hook them, like I said, on the side of the mouth, they really fight hard. It's because you're pulling them sideways and the fish jump out of the water. And if you're fishing with a barbless hook, you have to be very, vigilant, careful, not for the fish to jump too much, because if not, he'll throw the hook. So you gotta, if he tries to jump, you put your rod tip down. I mean, they're cool to watch jump, but you'll lose him. He'll jump like this, shake his head, and the hook will come right out of his mouth. And if he does jump, you gotta pull. You gotta go ahead and make sure the hook stays in. And these fish, they don't have, they've been tested. They don't really have the sensitivity like we have in our mouth. So they're constantly eating things that are super spiny, and you can see I got a little bit of a backlash there because I had a loop in the line. And it is good to make sure your oil, your reel's really oiled, super smooth. And like I said, it's good to put a little bit of water on your reel. It's gonna do that now. And I only dunk it down just to the line. I don't want to get it into the metal bar there, because that's where the line goes back and forth really smoothly, and I want to keep the oil on there. Okay, so, and that little noise you're hearing there, that's an aerator pump I have right here that aerates the lake. That's the only thing you can hear. Okay. And all of the houses that you're looking at right here, like this one, these used to have old houses on them. Look at how beautiful this house is. Let's see there, coming around. I mean, this guy's got a couple of lots right here, and that's a huge, huge house. I mean, I would have put more windows in it and stuff, because houses on the lake that have windows, you get a chance to see all the action. Okay, let's go up to this spot up here. But again, I'm not catching any fish, but I'm still having a good time. Again, part of coming out here is the nature of things. You're coming out, you're fishing, and I'm letting the fish go, And so I just casted, it was like 2 inches from those plants over there. And then usually, as soon as you would throw it in there, a fish would see the little splash, and he'd run over there and poof, grab it in 2 seconds. But I don't think anybody's that hungry right now, for some reason. Like I said, it might have been the algicide, because there's no algae in the lake, and this is summertime, so summertime the water gets warm. See, that should have went another 10 feet, but I didn't want to catch anything behind me. So when you're casting, you got to really make sure too if no one's behind you, because one time I was fishing, and we were fishing, I was probably like 13 years old, 14, and we're fishing with this big lure called a balsa bee, and it's got 2 big sets of treble hooks on it, big ones, because you're trying to catch big bass. And there we go. You can see where I just casted right underneath the dock right there. Here, let's turn this way, and you can see a little better. Oh. Nope, see, it's those little tiny fish. But I forgot what I was going to tell you. Okay, let's go up to the next spot here. So this guy's got a nice pool in his backyard, a little basketball court. He's got all solar on top. Like I said, that's 2 lots. And so think of one lot here is, and with a house on it, it's like $4 million right now. So this has got 2 lots, and it's got like 2 houses, because that's a huge house. And you should see some of the other houses. They're triple story. They look like hotels on here, but they're personal houses. And so this guy's house probably cost $7-8 million for that right there. So, you know, $7-8 million, you're saying, okay, great, you buy it. No, now you got to pay the taxes on that. And in California, the taxes are 1.25% of the sales price of the house. So if you got a $1 million place, right, you gotta pay. You got to pay $12,500 in taxes. But if you've got yourself a house, let's say $5 million, think of that. You got like a $60,000 a year property tax bill, and that's crazy. And not only that, they used to be able to give you the tax write-off on all your property taxes. So Uncle Sam was paying about half of it, right? Because you take it off the top of your income. And now they stopped that. So a lot of these guys here that bought these places, they bought them, but they could write off their property taxes. Now they can only write off $10,000 a year, and the rest is personal. And what does that mean? That means if you have to spend $50,000 a year on property taxes, now you can only write off 10, and you have to pay $40,000 out of your personal pocket, which means you have to tax it first before you pay, because it's all personal. Okay. So that's a good way to take money from people that actually bought a house, because prior they only bought the house too is because they get a chance to live in a big ass beautiful house, and the property taxes are written off right off the top of your income. But not anymore. So, and not only that, a lot of these houses in here, they're up in the houses in the mountains, a lot in California, in Southern California. And since they've had all the fires, you've got places that, of course, used to have a semi-reasonable insurance, right, for fire and everything else. Now they're in the fire zone because they've had so many fires, and so now everybody's insurance, like families, went up 10 times on one of the houses on the lake because they say it's in the fire zone. That's a blue heron. They're a big bird, huge bird. They eat fish. They have like a spear nose on their face, and they stand in the water and spear fish and eat them. Again, called a blue heron. And if you've got koi, blue herons will eat your koi. So we got a koi pond, and you have to put a net on the top. If not, the herons come in and kill all your koi. And again, I can't believe that I'm not catching any fish. Check out these houses here. Let's see if we can turn the boat a little bit. Go out, and then let's give it a turn. These are nice houses in here. Each one, some of them have 2 houses, you know, a littler house and a big house. And there's, you know, houses that get a chance to view the lake, but there's only so many houses on this little lake, so every piece of property here is, of course, very valuable because you can't put any more houses on the lake. I think the dam was built like in 1920 back there on this lake. So this used to be a lake where a lot of mafia used to live. And one of my friends, we used to keep a boat at his house. I won't say his name. He's a doctor. He's a plastic surgeon. Anyways, they were doing a room addition inside his old house, adding on some stuff and changing a few things, and they found $750,000 from like 1930 bills in cash. So, you know, if you're gonna go and have a lot of cash back then, rob a bank, whatever it is, how you got your money, what do? You put it in the bank? No, you gotta hide it, right? So these guys, you know, had on this lake here. This is Lake Sherwood, right? That's where Robin Hood lives. You think these things got the name. And where the next valley right next door to it is called Hidden Valley. There's a lot of very wealthy people that live in Hidden Valley. My dad lives in Hidden Valley. Like Rupert Murdoch, okay, he lives in Hidden Valley. He built the Sherwood Country Club, built all the houses back there, super wealthy guy. Donna Summer, Sylvester Stallone. Let's see, I mean, Roy Rogers. My dad bought the Roy Rogers farm over there. And that's called Hidden Valley Ranch. So that was like the major farm back there. It's got the famous horse Trigger buried on the ranch. And okay, you can see these are nice tules right here. And the tules, sometimes you get a lot of big bass that live in these lily pads. Or not tules, they're lily pads, sorry. And I'm gonna cast right there. Let's see if we can get a fatty. Like I said, a bass, when he eats this thing, he doesn't let go. And so if you don't get him within like 2 seconds, he swallows the thing right away, and that's bad news. So, yeah. Let's try again. And we got a couple of people that are up and about. Oh, there we go. And like I said, this is perfect, perfect, perfect. But no fish. But anyways, I'm having a good time. I'm getting a little sun. Usually I have my shirt off here. But it's still a little nippy, but it's getting nice. Okay, let's go over here. Whoops. I hit something behind me. So that's a bad cast. Let's redo that. You can see all the ducks on the shore right here. And one of the things that I don't see too many children here. There are a couple, but most of the people that live here now, they're older people. I don't see any children. If there are, they're older, you know, 20s. But when I was a child here, this place was filled full of children, playing, fishing. I mean, getting towed behind the boat on an inner tube, jumping off the rocks. I don't see any of that here. Okay. At least you get a chance to not see any fish caught, but at least you can see some of the beautiful places here that nobody sees. No one even knows they're here. And of course there's a ton of beautiful places in the world, but this is just a little slice of heaven right here. So, you know, this is Westlake Village, and just 15 miles from here, you get a chance to go to San Fernando Valley. And that place is like World War III, homeless everywhere. I mean, total disarray, trash, just not good. Half the stores are closed. You don't even notice any of the COVID stuff here that much as far as business and money, because there's just a lot of money in this area right here. And when you, just like I said, when you go over the hill there, it's just like night and day. It's like a war zone. just 15 miles from here. Crazy. But if you just lived in here, you would never know anything's going on. Supermarkets are totally full. Everybody's just doing their thing. Everyone's driving around with $100,000 to $500,000 cars, Ferraris, like I said, Bentleys, Jaguars. Everyone's got a Range Rover here. Pretty crazy. In Hawaii, I haven't even seen a Range Rover. And over here, it's like every other person's got one. I just got bit again by it. There's a lot of bluegill in here too. But the bass, for some reason, they got lockjaw. Again, look at how quiet it is here. Let's go way in the corner of that dock. Oh, look at that. Right before the wire. There's a wire that goes holding the dock, and you don't want to get stuck on that. But I can't believe I'm not catching anything. Nothing. This is a cool looking house right here. Here, let's turn the boat for a second. It's sort of hidden in the shade. Let's turn this way. I can get a cast this way here. Oh, there's a turtle over there. But check that thing out. That's a cool house. And like I said, most of these houses, this one's been here a long time. So that was like one of the nicest houses when I used to fish here. But most of these other houses, they've all been, the house ripped down and they built something else. And it's not easy to build here because a lot of the ground here is rock. So my brother's pool over there, they had to use a jackhammer to get it out, and you can't put a tractor in the back because you can't get in his backyard. So it was all done by hand. He's got thousands of big blocks that they had to go ahead and carry down by hand, and tons of dirt that they took out from the pool, right, with 5-gallon buckets and brought it up all the makeshift stairs they had. So building something is a definite creation and a lot of work. So when you see these types of places like this is a lot of energy that's gone into building these places. Each one has its own cesspool, has to have its own system. You gotta, be able to manage the lake because it doesn't manage itself. So that's why they put algicide. So you gotta think every one of these houses, they'll use fertilizer, right? Nitrogen fertilizer, and that's why you get a lot of the weeds that grow in here, and that's why they got to use the algicides. Because put fertilizer on your lawn, you water your lawn, the nitrogen fertilizer, so if you use Roundup or chemicals or anything else, that's why, we used to eat the bass out of here. That's when I was 10 years old, 15, but I don't think anybody should eat anything, from a private lake like this because you got a lot of chemicals. Remember the cesspools, there's one right there. Who knows if they leak into the lake? Nobody knows, right? I'm sure somebody does, but think of all the chemicals from the nitrogen that come in here. So what happens is the weeds sometimes they'll just grow like crazy because everybody's feeding, okay, with their chemicals, the nitrogen chemicals, feeding the lake. So it'll get an algae bloom. And then, you'll get acres here of moss on the top you can't even drive through. So I don't see that anymore happening. A couple fish jumping. So let's fish these little tulies right here. Again, look how quiet it is. Beautiful bird right there. Blackbird, big one. And they got a special tail. These ones they're really ornamental. They got like a V-shaped tail, and they're like probably 16 inches long. I mean, this is perfect right here too. I can't catch something here. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. I think, like I said, it's because of the algicide that they put in the water. Did something. Didn't kill the fish, but maybe it changed the way they feed or something. Because this is totally unusual for this lake. If fishing, oh, there we go. Nope, see, that was one of those. See, if that was a bass, he'd eat it and he wouldn't let go. Okay. See that guy flying? What a beautiful, perfect landing, right? Okay, let's try this. Way over there. Look at that cast. And if you weren't a good caster, you get stuck in the weeds there, and you got to pull the boat in every time, or you get stuck on the back of this guy's boat, and you got to crawl on his dock, or cut off your line because you don't want to crawl on his dock. So I've done that many times. I don't do that anymore. Oh, somebody's calling me. Let's just see. Okay, here we go. Maybe I should try another rod. Let's try something else. Even though fish aren't biting, let's try this thing right here. This is a plastic worm, but it's a different color. It's a little smaller, a little harder to cast, and I'm going to use the spinning rod. And of course, these are cheapies, but if you know how to use fishing rods and stuff, they'll still work, but it's nice to have a good spinning rod. And those are probably, like, you know, with a good rod, probably $100. And so on this one here, I have to stop the line with my finger. With the other reel, I stop it with my thumb. But on here, if I want to stop the line from going any further, then I got to use my finger to stop it. So spinning rods you have to be a little more accurate sometimes, but they're easier to use just because you don't get the bird's nest. You can hear this thing making a lot of noise. Okay. All right, let's go way in the back. Oh, what a shot. And then on a spinning rod, because you'll get a loop in here like this, so I put my finger, oh, thought I got that. I put my finger like this, and I hit the line like that so I don't get any loops in the spool, because if not, again, you won't be fishing for a while. So I just make sure that the line goes on correctly. And again, you can put water on your reel if you're not the greatest. It helps. Oh, look at that. Let's move the boat so you can see a little better. And if I catch like a 3-pound bass on this rod, this one's like catching a 5-pound bass on the other rod, because this one's really lightweight. And this has only got like 8-pound test, and I've had like 10-pound test on the other one. So this one you got to really, if you're going to catch a fish on this one, you got to really pull them in slow. And make sure anytime you do catch a fish, you got to check the line, make sure it doesn't have any frays or anything. If not, you just lose your fish in a minute. So you always got to check your line. Make sure everything's good there. But again, why aren't I catching anything? It's okay. This is, out of all the days I've been fishing for the last 3 weeks, I would have already caught, even on a slow day, I would have caught probably 3 so far on a slow day. So something's going on here. But there's, like I said, there's lots of fish, but there's no action. Usually you see a lot of fish jumping and, you know, just a lot of commotion on the water because everybody's feeding. And fish do bite on different, depending on how much light the moon cycle. So the best fishing, as they say, is the quarter moon cycle. Going in quarter moon and going out quarter moon. So those are the premium times, supposedly, for fishing. So they say. But if you go to a place that has fish most of the time, you'll catch fish. But if there is a cold storm or a cold front or something like that, that's what I found is really changes if the fish are going to eat or not. And the moon cycles do have a little bit to do with it, but it's, to me, if it's a cold day the day before and you're going to go fishing the next day from like 80 degrees and it went down to 50 degrees, you're not going to catch anything. We know that. So don't even go unless you just want to go. And look at that. So I have to use my finger to stop the line. And I figured this house we're coming up is a beautiful, it's a monster. This is looks like a hotel from here. And from the street, you can't even tell this thing exists. It just looks like a small little place. But then when you come down the mountain, this thing's huge. I'll show you. This thing's got to have at least a dozen bathrooms and bedrooms. It's got like 4 different chimneys on it. Let's go over here and you'll be able to see it. And I never see anybody at this place. Never. A lot of these houses are empty, and they're like for second houses, I guess. So in the evening, a lot of times it's like every third house has a light on it, and everybody else is just dark. They're not living there. So maybe a lot of these houses are investment houses, or I don't know. But there's a lot of, this is summertime. You'd think everybody would be using it. Hey, we got one more boat on the lake. That's it. So there's me and 2 other boats, and it's like probably 9:30. Okay, so let's try right here. Maybe see I don't know if you can see because there's a lot of trees here. Maybe you can see the house right there. It's hard to see, but that thing is beautiful. I'm going to change my rod real quick because I need to zero in exactly, because I can cast perfect with this thing. That other one is not as. We're going to go way in the back over there. Oh, look at that. I got in the weeds there a little bit. There we go. But I was right there. That was about a foot too long. Let's recast that. The cast is everything. Just because you have your bait in the water doesn't mean you're going to catch anything. You can see that was like 2 feet from the shore. Oh, there we go. See, it's one of those bluegill again. Okay, I'm going to go away in this corner here. It's a dark corner. Oh, perfect shot. Nothing. Okay, let's try again here. All right, at least wanted to catch one fish for you. Just so you can see. But maybe it looks like I'm not going to be able to do it. It's always Murphy's Law, right? When you want something, you may not get it. And just the days before, you were just catching them over and over again. Usually when I go out, I catch about 3 to 5, and that's when it's slow. If it's good, I can catch between like 8 and 15 just in a couple hours. And you know, you're not catching 1 pound fish, you're catching 3 to 4 to 5 pound fish. Sometimes you'll see some of the ones I'll put on the screen here, they're like 8 pounds, studs. Okay. And you can see with this rod here, I can really toss that thing. That was like 80 feet at least. But everybody's got lockjaw. Okay, there's some guy fishing from the shore up here. Yeah, it's hard to see this house right here. When we get over here, maybe I'll zero in a little better. And there's our boat, our Como. And this place here has got like probably 3, maybe 4 lots. So somebody had a lot of money to break down 3 or 4 houses, or to be able to buy a whole area a long time ago, which that might have been the case where they didn't have anything but a shack on it or something. And someone really went ahead and put, that's got to be 20,000 square foot house, at least. I mean, it's huge. Let me get one more cast and we'll way back there. Oh, perfect. See that? Usually would, as soon as I cast it, there'd be a swirl like 5, 6 feet away. You can see there's something that went at it, and then you pull back and you get your adrenaline going. And once you catch one, then you want to catch another, just because they're actually really fun to catch and release. And when you catch them, you got to look at them really good because they're super beautiful. I mean, they got all these markings on them, and you know, sort of like a peacock, right? But not a fish. Not even a bite. Like I said, if it's a bass, the only reason I would lose him is because I pulled back too fast and yanked it out of his mouth or something. So I can see he's using a little rubber bait too. How's fishing? Good, good. Catch anything yet?
I think I have 3 or 4 today.
Oh, have you? I haven't even got a bite. I did this whole row.
Yeah, dude, it's tough. The 2 I caught were just in the docks with the jig.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I threw Senkos, no bites.
Yeah, usually just in this row right here, I'd catch 10.
Yeah, today it's tough. Yeah,
Everybody's got lockjaw.
yeah the 2 I caught were nice. They were like, one was like a 3, the other one was like a 4.5.
Oh, 3 and 4.5? Nice.
Nice fish.
This morning?
The jig only.
This morning?
Yeah, the last one was this dock right here.
All right. Yeah, I caught one maybe about a week ago here, about 4 or 5 pounds, or maybe you caught the same one.
I think like I was fishing like a week ago. They're like wolf packing up in groups, but some of the fish are lazy and they just stick around their spot. So like I'd say like 3/4 of the fish are like roaming around like in groups.
Yeah, I see a lot of fish, but none of them want to take my topwater lures or anything. Just
They're real discerning too when they're like in these groups. Like they're not like aggressive. They're being like real like picky.
yeah, they're just being cruisers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they must have. They algacided the lake, right? Because last time I came back here, I live in Hawaii, but I came back here, I visited my brother a couple months ago. This place was full of moss.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, in the summer it gets like that. I don't know, they have like people come out and take it out, but yeah, they probably treated it at least a couple times.
Yeah, they must have treated it because last time I came, there was a lot of stuff on the top. You know, every lure, I couldn't even use topwater lures.
Yeah, yeah, way less grass like this week for sure. Yeah, I'd agree.
Yep.
Don't know what they did.
Yeah, because I used to fish for a long time. Every time they call it bluestone, but when they bluestone it, sometimes we don't catch fish for a couple months.
Right, right. Yeah, usually you kind of see some stuff on the bank, like some weird, like foamy color, like blue. Yeah, I haven't seen any of that.
Oh, okay.
But who knows? You know, they might have done a good job.
Yeah, but the lake is clean. They've done something.
Yeah, yeah. The bite's been a little tough. The other day I caught, what I catch them on? Yeah, I would just catch them on Senkos. Like, I just switched to Senkos, which is like my last resort. But today at least they're biting on the jig. My friend makes these jigs, so.
What, like a little lead-headed jig?
This is just a straight like football head jig.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He just hand ties them.
All right, well, have a good day, bro. Okay, so he caught a couple this morning. Okay. It's my daughter's birthday today, so I just wanted to come out here for an hour, so it's time to go in a few minutes. You know what we should do? Let's go take a drive right here, real quick, to this island. That's right, I was going to show you. This house. Okay, there we go. Let's give the island here a shot. And you can see those are, I think we're good. Those birds right there, those are called cormorants, and there's a Canadian goosey. So let's go right there. And the cormorants, they're fish eaters. And the Canadian geese, I've seen them eat fish too. They eat little minnows, and I mean, you'd think they're just vegetarians, but they also eat fish. I've seen them. Okay, let's try this right over by this rock, by the goose. Right in front of him. He didn't even flinch. The wind's just starting to light breeze right now. Beautiful. This is all like super prime territory, so I got a little bit of algae weeds on there, and anytime you get that on your lure, you want to make sure you take it off. And my hook came out a little bit, so I'm going to re-embed this. Okay, you can see it sticking out right there, so I'm going to take that, pinch it. You can hear that goose that took off their wings. Okay, here we go. Like I said, the water's super clear right now. Unusual. It's, you know, July, late July. It's Saturday, July, what is it, 22nd maybe? 23rd, something like that, whatever it is. And this place should be, you know, it's warm water, so you get more algae in the summer, but there's not a drop of algae anywhere. And just like I said a couple months ago, I came here. So you wonder what kind of chemicals they use to manage the lake. Just like a lot of people use chemicals to manage their pool. If you haven't seen our video, hot tubs, I manage my hot tub without using any chlorine, and I use what's called CD. Look up that video and I'll show you how to do that. And you don't have to use toxic chlorine products anymore, and your pool or your hot tub will stay perfectly clean just by doing this every couple weeks. How I use CD for various therapies talks about a lot of different uses, from cleaning your water catchment tanks to your hot tub to ingesting it for parasites, and also for forms of detoxification. Okay, I think we're not going to catch one today. First time I've been stumped on a trip. I think maybe one time before, when it got real cold one time, I didn't get a bite, but otherwise this is one of those days. Not even a bite. And these are all prime areas here, super prime areas for fishing, because I know exactly where the fish, and I just keep coming back to the same spot, and you keep catching fish, and you can see how someone's caught them before, because they got a little red mark on their mouth, or I've even caught fish that have a hook in their mouth. Take the hook out and let them go. All right, one more. Let's turn the boat this way and get a better view. Look at that. Beautiful, huh? Okay, that was a 90-footer. And I was 6 inches away from the rock there, from the bank. Not a bite. That is weird. And when you go on a boat too, guys, a secret, because I gotta go, is you gotta bring an empty bottle. What do you think that's for? Just in case you gotta go. Or you could just dive in the water, right? Take a swim and do as the fish and birds do. Let it go. Oh, look at that shot. Like 6 inches again from the rock. And every one of these casts should be giving me a fishy. Or at least every third one, fourth one. I'm gonna come back and, what did you catch? And I go, smell my fingers. What's it smell like? I don't know. Plastic? Yeah, that's from the rubber worms, right? What'd you catch? Nothing. Because otherwise you'd be smelling fish on my fingertips. Okay, I think that's the end of our journey. So, go fishing, because it's super, super serene and relaxing until the humans start coming out and you start hearing airplanes and noise, right? But in the morning hours, if you want to really get a good meditation, go fishing. And go to a place that is quiet. And all you got to do is just get up in the morning, because look, there's a couple thousand people that live on this lake, maybe. Who knows? But it's quiet in the morning because everybody's sleeping. Okay. Just one more. I've done that so many times where last cast and I catch a nice one. All right, this is crazy. That's crazy. Nothing. Okay, we're gonna go to our last spot right here. Again, that was Gilligan Islands. The character, Bob Denver, Gilligan, he used to live there. And that was, again, in like 1972 when I was coming over here, 75. And they didn't have any of these boat docks here. There was just a couple of boat docks. Everybody that had a boat dock just had a simple little rowboat. I mean, none of these little party boats. These are all party boats, right, for people to come out here and drink and be merry. But there's probably 20 fishing boats, like, you know, where they're set up for fishing here. But most people, they're just coming out just to, of course, just cruise around like this guy right here. He's just cruising around the lake, which is a beautiful thing too. All right. He's got like one of those Venice cruisers. Okay, let's go right over here. Last night I caught like 2 of them right here, real nice ones. Morning. Okay. There we go. There goes the birdie. Let me come in at a different angle so you guys can see a little better. But I want to stay out here a little deeper so we don't scare the fishes since the water's so clear. Okay, so I'm going to cast next to these tulies over there. Oh, perfect cast again. 6 inches from the... And this is usually, if I cast there, I'm going to get bit every time. It's like my famous little spot here. If I can't catch fish, I come to this corner, and I'll usually pull up a couple of nice ones right here. But nada. And this rock right here, this little island, a lot of people jump off the rocks. There goes a cormorant, just jumped in the water. Okay. See a little fish right there jumping, but they're little guys. That guy was saying back there that a lot of the fish right now, there's a lot of big fish that are just swimming around in groups, and he tries to get them to bite, but for some reason they're just swimming and not interested in. Like this little spot right here, this is a park right here for, we used to play baseball in the park here, soccer, volleyball, but you don't see too many people out there anymore. I mean, on a typical like summer afternoon, you used to have barbecues here every weekend. There was just a lot more family. Now it's more, you know, do your own thing and not really, you know, you say hi to people and stuff, come out here and drink, but it used to be more physical activity. Now there's more, you can see, drinking activity. These are called party boats for a reason. Look, you got one fishing boat right there out of all those boats. There's another one over there, a little rowboat with a, there's another one. There's 3 in here, but the rest are party boats. And you can't fish out of those at all, right? because you can't fish with the tops on. So you know you're not fishermen. And the reason, if I was going to live here, one of the reasons it's serene and everything is because I love the fishing. And it just brings me back to my childhood. Okay, that's it. Look at that. I cast it so many times right here on my famous corner, and there's not even a ripple of any fish moving, doing anything. Okay, for sure this time. One more cast. One more cast. For sure. That's it, we're done. Okay guys, I think that's it. So, fishing, just like anything, is an art. And there's lots to learn on every subject. But one of the best things that I've done in my life is actually, like I said, fishing takes you to the places that nobody goes. So enjoy fishing and enjoy the adventure of where you go to catch fish, because that's where no one really wants to go. And that's the most beautiful, untouched spots in the world. Okay, that's it. We'll see you guys. Aloha, and whew, what a beautiful day.